Stranger Things has left us all shaken, or dare we say it, upside down with this new season. Breaking records left and right, the show has gone viral across every single platform. We simply can't get enough of it, but some people wish things went a bit differently. Today, we're going to talk about some changes fans wish they could make to Stranger Things. Spoiler alert, this video is full of important season 4 details. First up, we have Jason's death. Jason was clearly the season's most obvious bad guy. Well, yeah, there was Vecna, but even he didn't make us yell at the TV as much as this jock did. He was clearly a complete douchebag, and he might be the only character that no one was grieving over once he died. His character finally met its horrible fate in the last episode. When the cracks started opening up in the floors, his body was literally split in two. Fun fact, this was actually foreshadowed in the earlier episodes, when Jason himself told Lucas how hangovers feel like you're getting split in two. But some people didn't like how this death took place. Sometimes the bad guy's death being so immediate takes away from the plot. Instead, according to some, it might have been better if he finally realized he was the one in the wrong. He could have understood that he's been chasing the good guy hunting the evil monster all along. Once that was out of the way, his death would have been a lot more satisfying. Next up, we have Will. As bad as Will's haircut is, that's not the only thing about him that fans wish went differently. Since season 1, the poor kid's seen nothing but struggles. First, he got stuck in the Upside Down. Then there was the whole Mind Flayer situation. Then, moving to a new city away from his friends. Needless to say, this child hasn't had an easy life. After all that, a lot of us were thinking that it was time Will caught some rest. He could have used a few genuinely happy moments this season, because it seems like he's always on the receiving end of the bad news. There were also a lot of explicit hints toward him being gay. Later on, this theory was confirmed by Will's actor, Noah Schnapp, as well. A lot of people didn't really like how this played out, because they felt like this plotline was just added for extra oomph and angst. Hasn't he been through enough already? Also, was it really the smartest idea to show pain and sadness as all there is to the gay experience? If he doesn't get multiple hugs next season, the showrunners are gonna have to catch these hands. Next, there's the whole magical healing ankle thing. Okay, seriously? How on earth did Hopper make it out of that prison? Many fans complained that this was one element of the show that stood out like a sore thumb. We clearly saw Hopper's ankles being cracked thoroughly, so how was he on his feet so soon? Sure, he's brave and all, and macho enough to stick up and deal with it, but it's quite literally not possible for his feet to recover that quickly. That too with zero treatment. And yeah, this show has magic and powers and all that jazz, but where that's not involved, it makes for lousy plot holes, simply because it's too unrealistic. Not cool, Duffer Brothers. Moving on, what was the point of the 2 days later? Once all the heavy stuff in the final episode had taken place, we see a short jump cut ahead to 2 days later. But was that really necessary? There's one set of fans that say that everything we saw after those 2 days should have been left out completely. We could have been left with that huge cliffhanger, assuming Max is outright dead. All of this could have been nicely wrapped up with the next season. There was no need to rush all of this right now. Then there's another group that has a different viewpoint. They say that instead of the jump cut, we should have been shown the actual emotional toil of the difficult events of the day on all the main characters. To be fair, it did feel a bit out of place that Dustin was basically the only one acknowledging that Eddie had died. Where was Mike and Lucas's reaction to his death? Weren't they good friends with him too? At this point, all of the main characters from this story arc should have had some sort of feelings towards Eddie's death. He'd risked his life for a town that hated him, but those few kiddos knew the truth about him. Shouldn't they have been the first people to defend his honor? Plus, what was up with all the volunteering? How were all the characters so focused on earthquake relief victims when one of their friends just died and another one's in a coma? Either way, many people really disliked how the emotional impact of all these traumatizing events was kind of buried away. The first volume had immaculately high stakes. It had us at the edge of our seats. In comparison, the second one might have been a little underwhelming, all because the ending was so rushed. Up next, what was going on with Jonathan? We think it's safe to say this wasn't the best season for this guy. He started off in season 1 as this kind of shy dude we were all rooting for. Then, his story arc with Nancy blossomed too, and he became the character we were all hoping he'd be. But this time, it felt like 3 seasons worth of character development was dumped down the drain. All he ever did was smoke weed and get high. Not once was there any sight of him with his camera, and he wasn't the best big bro either. Without these, who even is Jonathan? Not to mention, he didn't tell Nancy the truth in the end about college. When did he become a lying sleaze? Truthfully, the showrunners didn't make him that relevant this time around. Any romance there was between Nancy and him was completely lost on us this season, and we totally get why people are back to shipping her with Steve. Tons of fans have voiced their opinions, saying this plotline was just kind of random, and they really wish all the chemistry from the earlier seasons was retained. Then we have the lack of good friendships and family moments. When the show started out, it was so much more about the friendships. Even last season was so focused on Max's and Elle's development. This season, Mike and Will were a bit too disconnected. The other boys didn't have any bonding moments as such, and fans were not here for it. They also expressed their dismay over never really seeing Will, Eleven, Jonathan, and Joyce connect as a family. Seriously, writers, you're telling us that after Elle had lived with the Byers for so long, Jonathan didn't even feel the need to give her a hug when he found her again in the desert? Not even a hello? Didn't he call her his sister at one point? What's with all the friction? Finally, obviously, we have Eddie's death. This one comes as no surprise. To some people, Eddie's death was even sadder than Max's fate, despite Eddie being a new character. This hotshot was so adored globally that TikTok and Twitter couldn't get enough. So many people are still in denial, theorizing and hoping that he's still alive somehow, because we never saw him get buried. For these people, if they could change one thing about this season, it would be his death. One reason viewers can't really let go of him is that he was misunderstood, lost, and a little different than everyone else, just like quite a lot of us. This rock star grew on too many of our hearts, and we weren't so prepared to lose a character so dear to us. But that wasn't the only reason fans wanted his character alive. People had been noticing a pattern. Every season, new fan favorite characters die. Remember Alexi and Bob Newby? In that aspect, Eddie's death was not just heartbreaking, but also disappointing, because it was written a bit lazily. It was downright predictable. Some angry watchers have been saying that the original MCs seem to have plot armor. Nothing ever happens to them. Every death always comes to the secondary roles. Maybe if, instead of Eddie, Max actually died, the show wouldn't be giving into the stereotype about it. Or even Steve could have taken the hit, and Eddie could have been passed the baton of being the group's mommy. We all know that rule number 1 of Hollywood is that anyone in a coma will probably come back eventually, so Max is most likely gonna be okay. Not that we're complaining, we love that redhead to bits, but we can't lie. Maybe it's time the Duffer Brothers switch things up. The emotional impact of seeing someone from the OGs die would have been massive, and even if it was tremendously sad and hard to deal with, at least it would be good reassurance that those kids weren't invincible. That's a wrap for this video. What do you wish was different about this season? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.